Hi folks, welcome to part 5 of the Sinclair QL Design and Production Review. In this part we have a short look at the Sinclair QL Service Manual. The Service Manual was published by Sinclair Research in 1985 and it came in a typical Sinclair style, QL style, black with silver. In the manual there is a history sheet where you can see which issue you have. So this is issue 2 from June 1985 and it's properly listed what changes have been made to the manual. Okay, the manual was not only available in this official glossy black and silver Sinclair style. There were also some authorized copies, and I know that at least from issue 2 and 3 there were copies made with slightly different sizes of the fold-out pages. So this is a copy of the issue 2, June 1985. Okay. Here's another service manual. I have quite a bunch of them. So this is the last known issue, issue 3 from October 1985. You see the history sheet here. The good thing about this third issue is that it has really much more content. There are some additions A, B, C, D in section 4. That's quite important. Okay, let's have a short look through the manual. So the official one had a color print here for safety measures. Then it's not only a service manual, it's kind of engineering specification stuff inside. So there is no known system engineering specification documents. I think those were for internal use only at Sinclair Research, but the service manual is much more than a service manual. It really explains the concepts and the inner workings of the QL hardware. So when you go through it, it's quite precise, but it has also some mistakes. So I spotted one years ago. So chapter 5.1.3 is really wrong. So about the ROM cartridge, they are not 32K. By default they are 16K, and you can see that the hex values are correct, but the decimal values in kilobyte have a typo. It's not really a typo. It was the initial specification of the machine as it was launched in January 1984 with a 32K OS in ROM and a 32K ROM expansion with a cartridge. Okay, the manual is quite nicely laid out. It has also some diagrams. So here in specific, this is the keyboard diagram, or you have a full block diagram of the machine, and it also has of the two major UK made PCB issues, issue number 5 and 6. It has a circuit diagram which is a fold out page, a large one, and here for issue 5 you can see the memory, the ROM memory configuration, and this is something which is more engineering stuff, not really service, because the QL was sold as a machine with 48K of ROM for the operating systems and 16 kilobyte of expansion ROM. So as said, there are 2 motherboards covered by the manual. So the manual is a bit closely related to the two major UK-made PCB issues, as I said before. But there are many more PCB issues, and there was also a second source of a QL maker, Samsung Electronics in Korea, which is more or less the issue 6 motherboard. So I just briefly go through the manual that you can see the look of the pages, but I better give you a possibility to read it online, to download it, and then use it for your own purpose. Okay, so before we stop, I want to show you the PCB layout pages. Those are also fold out pages which are coming soon. Give me a second. Here are some modification pages, also some testing stuff is in and parts list, general assembly, all the components are listed, and finally here is the layout of the PCB, the PCBA. So that's how issue number 5 is looking, and you can spot that the PCB here is including the two small PCBs of the micro drives, and here on the graphics you see that it has some kind of a holder for the motherboard. So I was not sure how this was in reality until at some stage I got my hands to really some uncut motherboards. So here is a real Sinclair QL motherboard. It's a issue 4. I hope you can spot it. And the issue 4 is very close related to the issue 5. There are only minor changes. And you see that what you see on the paper is really what you had as a PCB. So this helping material is there, as are the two PCBs for the micro drives. And after the manufacturing process with putting the components on the board and the soldering, then there was a kind of a machine cutting off the PCB from this holding material and also cutting off the two smaller PCBs for the micro drive. So as a kind of a working process on the assembly line or the production line, I have another board here which I put on the top of the table now, and this is issue 5 with all the soldering components already on the board, already soldered. Some guy aftermarket removed the expansion port because the guy most likely needed this connector. But that's how the QL motherboard was when it was coming out from the soldering machine, and here only the Motorola CPU is in place. But this was done not really in the factory, that was done a few years later when the board came to surface, and some guy tried to make it work. Other than that, it's a very nice piece. I will not really fire it up, I leave it as is. It's really nice. Good, let's put the things aside and continue with the service manual. So there is another PCB layout for issue 6. Okay, here the drawing was without this helping material of the PCB. But how did it look in reality, the issue 6? So I have found one here, that's an issue 6. PCB, unpopulated, unsoldered, It's really a brand new one, and new old stock. It's real original Sinclair, and you see that the drawing here is not really correct, or it is correct in a way that when it's really at hand for the assembly line, the motherboard looks like that. So those are the differences of the two drawings. Okay, other than that, this specific motherboard is signed by the QL Chief Design Engineer, David Carlin. A couple of years ago, when I met him a few times, I had this board with me and he signed it. Okay. Put the thing aside and close the service manual. Then what I have here are some copies of some pages, and it's quite nice because those copies come from one of the well-known QL service providers, Tony Firshman. On those copies are his notes about repairing the QL, and there are a couple of notes on the circuit diagrams or on the PCB layouts, and one day I shall scan this and make it available to you. Okay, so let's have a close view to the internet. On the internet there's the sinclairql.net website, and when you scroll down you find the service manual as a HTML file. You just go to the HTML logo and there you are. You have the service manual at your hand. Good. There's a second possibility. On the Dilwyn Jones QL web pages, on the ebooks section, you also find the Sinclair QL service manual as in different format for ebook readers or as a PDF. So here you find it as a PDF for your own use.